My guests today are Terry Brooks and Charles Luckert. Terry Brooks is the trustee for Place 1 of the Grand Prairie Independent School District. Charles Luckert is the founder of the Grand Prairie at a Glance Facebook groups. Terry and Charles graduated from South Grand Prairie High School in 1972 and are lifelong Grand Prairians. I talk with them today about their high school experience and becoming citizens involved in community service and hometown pride. My friend Cole Humphreys with the HotNCole podcast was kind enough to let us use his recording studio, and his voice also pops up every once in a while in our episode. Without further ado, here are my friends Terry Brooks and Charles Luckert. I'm here today with Terry Brooks, who is a school board trustee for the GPISD.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Terry.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to have y'all here.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad. And then I also have Charles Luckert, who's here and he is the starter of the Grand Prairie at a Glance Facebook pages. So if you are on there with him, and he will share this on his Grand Prairie at a Glance, even though he is the guest. I know that he's already thought about that. I'm going to make him share. But I'm so glad that you came. Hi, Charles.
Hello, Jenna.
I'm so glad you came. I've literally been trying to get you to do this for how many months now?
Quite a while.
I know. And you kept saying, this is what he kept saying. I'm just not interesting. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're like super interesting. But the reason I have y'all both here at the same time is you guys have known each other for a while, correct?
You know, I was thinking last night, Charles, and you may interject here and tell me, we had to have been about 12 years old, 13 maybe.
I was thinking 7th grade, whatever age.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah,
so 12,
grade.
13 years old. Or
Because we went to different elementaries, but we went to Lee.
Yep, I went to Crockett.
And y'all graduated what year from South?
74.
74.
1902.
1902. But that's kind of how...
You look it.
And then we have Cole. Thank you, Cole. And we are recording in Cole Humphreys' studio, which is the HotNCole podcast. That's what he does. And so he was so gracious to let us come in and record in here. Thank you, Cole.
Awesome.
So what got me to thinking about this was Charles and I had gone to an alumni meeting earlier last year, I think it was, or earlier this year maybe.
Yeah, this year.
And you had said that, Terry graduated in your class, and I didn't realize how many people really that I knew that were SGP alum before I graduated, but we were talking about that. And so I thought, y'all have a very unique perspective because y'all are both in the community eye. You're both in the public eye. You both do things that are community service oriented. And so I was like, I really want to talk to them about how they were back in school. And did you ever think that you would be in a place like that later? But so I guess, first of all, Terry, I've never really known how you came to be be an elected official, or what made you want to do that in the first place.
It started when my children were started at Bowie.
Because how long have you been a trustee now?
This is my 24th year, I believe.
Wow.
And they wanted some PTA volunteers. And so I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. I'll follow. I was a beautification chairman, if you can get that, for the PTA at Bowie. And then I was the president, I don't know how many times, and so on and so on. And we had some issues with the school board back then it's for another podcast. But anyway, somehow I got nominated to be the spokesperson for the PTA. And so I would go to the school board meetings and I would speak our piece of what we would like to get done in the schools. Well, I was there quite a few times. And they finally, some of the school board members said, yeah, why don't you join us instead of... And so, that was really what it all kind of started from there. And I thought, why not? So
wow, I
ran for school board and I got it and ran unopposed for, I don't know how many terms. And so this is my 24th year, I believe, maybe 23, but 24.
Wow.
So, and it's been absolutely a blessing, 99% of the time. And I've met some of the most genuine, most beautiful, most intelligent, wonderful, caring, loving people that I probably would have never got a chance to meet if it hadn't been for that.
So if you could go back and tell your 17-year-old self that you would be on the Grand Prairie ISD School Board, what would your 17-year-old self... Okay, Charles is shaking his head. What would you have said if someone had told you that your friend was going to be on the school board?
Well, actually, it don't surprise me because he was well known in school. He was outgoing. He was the person that everybody loved. But as far as school board, I wasn't sure about that.
My 17-year-old person would tell me, listen to your dad.
Oh,
My dad begged me every way he could to take typing. And I would not do it. Now, who in the world would have thought our whole world now revolves around typing on your phone, on your computer? I thought, yeah, Dad, I'll never use type. Terry, you need to do it. And you know, my whole family graduated from Grand Prairie High. Every one of my aunts, my uncles, my dad, my kids, my cousins, everyone except for me. And I graduated from South. And I asked my dad, I said, Dad, what do you think about if I don't go to Grand Prairie High, I go to South?
Because you guys got to have a choice back then, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, we did because they were begging people to go to South.
Right.
And because South, there was nothing out there. And he said, boy, I don't care where you graduate from as long as you graduate. So I graduated from South.
Oh, wow. And Charles, like you kind of started, how long ago did you start the Grand Prairie at a Glance pages?
It's been a little over 2 years now.
2 years.
Yeah.
What spurred you on to do something like that?
Just not knowing what's happening in the city.
Okay, so were you a big social media guy before that?
No, not really, no.
No. Did you have like a Facebook page yourself?
I had a Facebook page. Kind of the way it got started was I was going through some pictures.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to put I came across my old elementary school pictures. And I wanted to put them on Facebook. I didn't really want to put them out there. I wanted to just put them on my pictures on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Evidently, I didn't know how to do that, and it got out to everybody. And everybody loved it. They commented on it and loved it and everything else. And then one of my friends was going to have a Lee Junior High reunion. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, why don't we start a group page for our Lee Junior High? Uh-huh. And she said, yeah, that sounds great. So I did that, and then we started interacting on there, and then that got me to, I could probably do a newspaper or something like that, too. Oh. Something to do with Grand Prairie. Some kind of group where you know what's going on in Grand Prairie. And it's kind of what it got started building up from there.
Wow. How many people do you have following each of the pages?
The news page is, I think, around 3,500 now. Uh-huh. The other ones, anywhere from 300 to 1,000.
And you just forward, I mean, you don't forward, that's an email term, but you just kind of share what other people share. Yes. You share the events and you share all that stuff. And
my idea was not to go be a reporter or nothing like that.
Right.
I don't care about doing all that. I just wanted to let people know. My idea was to get everything from several different places into one place.
Right. And you and I didn't know each other. I didn't know who you were before. And but I was on your page and I'd seen your page. But one thing I loved about what you were doing that I thought was really cool was you really monitor those pages to make sure that you're not sharing stuff to be divisive or to even allow people to be divisive with each other. They can have different opinions, but you're really big on like making sure that people are respectful of one another, which I really appreciate.
Yes.
I do too.
Yeah. Yes. Was that always something that you...
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That was my whole deal. Another thing, I got so sick of seeing all the cussing, all the arguing, everything on my regular news feed all the time. Just everybody cussing and arguing and everything else. So I figured if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it without all that.
Right.
And essentially, the things you share and the things you put on your page, those are the reporters.
Yes.
I mean, somebody from a certain entity with a Facebook group page posts their news and what's going on with them, and you make it public to everybody
Yes.
who's following your
Yes.
page.
Yes.
I mean, they're the reporter.
Anything Grand Prairie.
You're the magazine. They're the reporter.
Correct.
Right.
You're the
Yeah.
newspaper. They're the reporter. Nice.
Yes.
And you've
No.
changed the groups a little bit over the years, kind of depending
Yes.
on like what people seem to be interested in and kind of what's important. And that's really cool that you do that.
You know, I might add, and I think everybody in here will agree, Charles is knocking it out of the park.
Absolutely.
Knocking it out of the park. And that doesn't surprise me either. He was, even back in the day when, and I think Charles and I can agree on a few things that first of all, we thank God that there was no cell phones with cameras on them in 1970s. Second of all was
90s, still
yeah.
there wasn't. Thank goodness. Like, whew, just
But-
missed it.
But even back then, you know, we might have been a little mischievous in schools and all that, but I can attest that Charles he was a good guy back then, respectful, and I'm not saying, like I said, me and him both didn't do few little mischievous that any.
I mean, didn't we all?
Yeah, but overall, absolutely great guy.
Yeah, I completely agree. I knew the second that I met you that it was going to be like, and you and I hit it off immediately, and you know we're friends and we talk, and you know it's always so nice. And one of the reasons I wanted people to know who you were was because you're also like one of the most humble people I've ever met in my life. So humble, you don't, and it's so surprising to me because I'll say when I said I want to talk to you, you're like, why? And I'm like, because what you're doing is really cool. Like, I think that it's really cool.
But anybody could do what I'm doing.
Well, anybody
It's-
could, but
yeah.
not everybody does.
But still.
I know, but still, and see, the other thing I kind of thought about was, you know, did you have an attitude back when y'all were in high school of community, like a community, doing stuff for the community, making sure you're being a part of the community? Did y'all have that attitude back then?
No, not
You
at all.
didn't?
Yeah, he
No.
did.
No.
Really?
Yeah, he did. We both did. Yeah, he did. We were always very active. And you got to remember, you got to define community back then as your school.
Right.
You know, see that we're not talking about, I mean, when you're a high school, when you're 14, 16, years old, your community is your school. And Charles was very, very active, very social, very involved, and going to classes and doing the school spirit and all of the above. So yes, he was community involved.
Yeah.
Again, remembering our community was South Grand Prairie High
Yeah.
School.
Now, if you're talking about South Grand Prairie, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I
But-
mean, and that's where it started. Actually, Cole and I did one for his pod. We did an interview yesterday. We were kind of talking about like civics and like how important really understanding, you know, doing your duty to help with what's going on. And I don't know, do you feel like that was more prevalent back when y'all were in school than it is now? Like in schools and kids understanding all that?
You know, and you're looking at me, and the things that have changed immensely since Charles and I were in school, but in a lot of ways they stayed the same. A lot of ways that are better. You know, I am very, very proud of GPISD. Now, 10, 11 years ago, I couldn't say that, but I am now. And when we were in school, there was a different world. And you all you hear a lot of times on the news and stuff is the bad things that are happening with young people. But let me assure you, the ones I get to see constantly, week in, week out, and at school board meetings, we're in good hands in the future.
Yeah.
Most of our children, most of our kids, from anywhere from pre-K to seniors, are absolutely knocking it out of the park. They are great, great people, and we will be in good hands. Now, some of the things that have changed is, paddling. We no longer paddle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, no. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a shame. You'll probably get some hate mail on that one, but anyway.
No, I had a couple of past administrators that have been my guests that I'm sure would probably agree with you.
But anyway, there's a lot of things that are so much better of how they identify children now with learning disabilities.
Oh, yeah.
With our special ed back when we were in school was the very severely handicapped kids. It's not like that anymore. It's anywhere from autistic to dyslexia to even really, if you really want to know, even our GT programs is under the umbrella of special education. So
That's true. You're right.
yes,
You're right
so
about that.
It's a different world, and it catches so many kids with problems that back in Charles and I's day would have never been caught.
And you guys were kind of unique because y'all were some of the first graduating classes. Y'all weren't the first, but you were a few of them. Did y'all get to be a part of any of those decisions when they decided, like, the colors or, how I know that was kind of put to the students sometimes.
Well, I'll tell you exactly how that all happened. And you will see a guy named David London. Bryce London was the first principal at South. Now, a lot of people think it was Gene Head, but it wasn't. It was a guy named Bryce London. And David London is still on Facebook. In fact, he'll probably hear this because I know he's on Charles's feed. That's Bryce's son. Bryce London came from Bonham, Texas.
No, Bonham,
Bonham, Texas
Right.
is where he came from. And so the first principal always gets to name the mascot, the colors, and all that. So if you'll know, the Bonham Fighting Purple Warriors, that was Bryce London's little tribute back to his hometown. So he is the one, and it wasn't Coach Patton, it wasn't Coach anybody else. It was Bryce London, and he was a marvelous, marvelous man. He is the one that named the Warriors.
That's, I went back and I read, because y'all both know me. I'm like a researcher by heart. And so I went back and read some of the newspapers and how they kind of determined some of those decisions. And the way that the newspaper wrote it, it was like, and maybe he put forth that idea and then the students voted on it or something.
It was him.
Yeah, but it was him.
It was
That's
him.
so interesting.
It was him.
Very cool.
You got to look at Charles and I's 72 yearbook, and we're still over at the Byrne Alexander building now, but that was Jackson Junior High, and it was 7th through 12th grade in that one building. About half of that building that it is now. They're still bulldozers.
That was the Old South? Was that building?
Yeah, that was the first South.
Yeah.
There's still bulldozers over at the South that out front. And that's our 72 yearbook. It's an aerial shot.
I think you've seen the aerial shot. I've put it on there before.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if on the alumni page there was discussion about how we got the colors and everything. Now, on there they were saying that the colors were elected by the students.
It may have been.
Maybe it was maybe
colors.
you're right. Maybe it was the colors.
The colors,
yeah.
And then the uniform, the first Warrior uniform, they said they went to Six Flags.
Really?
Put a Warrior uniform together.
Isn't that interesting? Man, that's cool though. And that would have been hard, because Grand Prairie was so. I mean, my parents graduated from there. Everybody I knew. To make that decision to go and be at a different school. Did you get to decide, Charles, to go to that
yes.
school? You made that decision?
After I was going to go to Grand Prairie High. My whole family, like Terry, my whole family went to Grand Prairie High. So I always wanted to be a Gopher.
A lot of your friends would have gone because you went to Lee. Yeah.
Most of the friends did. At the time, I had a girlfriend that was going to Grand Prairie High. But I went up there to register, and I had the long hair. And carload of guys pointed me out and started doing this. So I said,
he's making motions with his fingers,
with like scissors,
like a scissors.
Yeah.
And so I said no.
So South didn't have those same restrictions.
Well, I went south. I went out there to take auto body and mechanics anyway. So.
So they didn't make you cut your hair?
No.
That's so funny.
No, that was a initiation back then.
Yeah,
my gosh.
you got clipped.
That happened to me, and that was in like 96, 97 probably. The seniors, my brother was amongst those. He didn't do it, but they knew my brother, and they knew me coming into a freshman at Grand Prairie High, and I got clips. Yeah, not scissors.
Oh my gosh!
Really?
Seriously?
I ran, but I didn't like fight it.
It was a long time tradition at Grand Prairie High.
I had no idea.
I don't know.
I ran, fought it, and got my butt whooped.
I don't know if South ever had it or not. But.
Well, last night when we were kind of talking about what we were going to talk about, we were text messaging back and forth, and y'all sent me a photo of it was taken at the state fair, and I'm gonna. So if you're listening to this, then I'm using it as y'all's episode picture, and I asked you if I could, but. You were kind of talking about your luxurious locks, Terry, and how long your hair. Because your hair, for people that haven't seen Terry, which I'm assuming everybody has, but you have really curly hair.
Yep.
So your hair didn't flow straight down, did it?
When God gives you a permanent, it's permanent. No, and my children, Tara and Matt and Ashley, they just think it's absolutely great that they can find old pictures of me with my hair, when my fro hung below my shoulders. And when I get out of the shower, my hair would actually down to the middle of my back.
Wow.
And so I always tell people, that, well, look at my child, look at the haircut. Just take pictures of them. Someday they're going to regret it,
That's true.
Just take a picture.
See, you were talking, I think, Charles, you mentioned that they used to have like Afro contests where to see who could have the biggest one. Well,
I wish I would have brought our high school group picture.
Oh, yeah.
All four of them in it with big old afros.
Well, when I was in high school, it was the tall bangs. So we all competed to see who could have the tallest bangs. And it was just, we would spray our hair like you wouldn't believe. And, because it was in the early 90s. And, that was just coming out of the big hair 80s stuff. So, we still had those same kind of hair competitions even when we were in high school. But
I don't know if they did on purpose. They just you'd see one, and from the back you wouldn't know who it was.
We did ours on purpose.
Charles and I thought we were cool. Don't misunderstand. We thought we were cool.
So Charles, on your page, who is mostly your audience? Is it just people you know? Is it a wide range of ages?
It started off that way. It started off, of course, just my friends. But it's grown to, I've got high schoolers in there now.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'm glad to see that. Sometimes I really wonder, Cole and I were talking yesterday about just how social media can make the world feel so big and how we forget that we still live in a community that's still pretty small comparatively. And I always wonder, are the kids that are in school now really grasping the idea of being involved with what's going on locally around them, and not that it's their fault. It's just the way that social media works. So I'm glad to hear that they're on there. Are they engaged?
No. As you know, I don't get all that much engagement,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, sometimes you'll post stuff that nobody ever says, and that's okay because they're seeing it, but...
Well, it might be a lot of it. Maybe I'm too mean. I don't know.
What do you get the most comments about? What kind of topic do you normally get the most comments about?
Anything political, of course.
Which doesn't really come up on your page all that often.
No, I try not to. Also, the COVID thing, of course.
Yeah.
You usually have to cut off comments on the COVID.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of zoning stuff.
COVID.
Yeah.
The stadium yesterday got a lot of comment.
Yeah, I saw that stadium. It's going to be the Air Hog Stadium is going to be a cricket stadium, which is kind of cool. I don't know how many cricket stadiums there are.
I think it's going to be cool, but of course, it's got a lot of negative comments on it. So.
Well, change is always hard for some people.
I think I might like cricket if I understood it. I just,
Well, if I may, there's I watched a 2.5-minute YouTube video.
What do you know, Cole?
Yeah,
I'm
right.
just kidding.
Yeah.
I watched a 2.5-minute video on YouTube about it, and it's quite simple, and it looks kind of entertaining. I kind of look forward to it as from the city. We'd been working on it for a couple of years now. And just a quick recap, the money that the city will spend was already earmarked for that stadium, meaning that money was collected from the 1/4-cent sales tax. It's in an account that we can't spend on anything else except that stadium. So yes, the city's spending money, but that was what the voters approved 13, 14 years ago to use for that. And so it's not like we're pulling money from the general budget. And there's going to be 6 teams in the U.S. It'll be Major League Cricket. This is like the Dallas Cowboys, a Major League team. Of course, not the Dallas Cowboys, but and then the other thing is when they bring international teams in, all the cricket followers, which they're not watching the regular sports, I guess, but they'll fly in and we'll have 8,000 to 10,000 people filling up that stadium. So just those 4 or 5 in a year alone will be 20 times the amount of Air Hogs fans. And we gave baseball a chance. 12 years, people didn't show up quickly.
Yeah.
If you want to see good baseball, Grand Prairie Gophers, South Grand Prairie Warriors is great baseball. And then you got UTA baseball that's highly competitive. TCU baseball is highly competitive. And DBU, all very, very close.
Yeah, DBU's got a great baseball team.
Well,
But-
no, I know I've seen over in Irving they play cricket, and there's 2 parks that they play cricket in.
Yeah, and we have one here off Baghdad.
Oh, do you? Okay.
They have rugby.
I've seen the rugby,
But
out
then
there.
on the other side, every week they have cricket going on. So it's happening now.
And I think y'all said that there was going to be 2 other. You're going to build 2 other parks out there?
Off Baghdad?
No,
Or-
out by the stadium. I saw a report on that there was there's going to be a stadium and then 2 other parks.
There may be practice things, and then of course
I think for the younger leagues.
there's
something.
always going to be future development.
Yeah, okay.
If the need is there, we're ready.
Oh, that'd be cool too, because it'll probably have a lot of students really interested in learning how to do it. See, pickleball's another one. I still haven't learned how to play pickleball. We're getting a great big, nice pickleball arena or whatever it's called.
I haven't even seen it yet. I'm curious to see what it is.
I don't. I've never even watched a pickleball game.
Yeah, I hadn't either.
Because if you go up to, because for those that don't know, the summit, I'm sure a lot of people that are listening have gone to the summit. If you go up there, they have serious pickleball games, and us under 50-year-old people aren't not allowed to be in there. So like, I can't go watch the game because I'd be kicked out.
It's not that much longer.
Charles, we have had this
Whoa.
discussion before. I'm telling you what. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Well, I'll be 50 my next birthday, so.
Wait a second, 74. So, like, when y'all were in school, and I always ask people this, how far south did Grand Prairie really go?
Marshall Street, I think, was the official line back then. But I lived north of Marshall, and they were begging people to go to south. So if you wanted to go to south, you didn't have a problem.
So there were houses out there, but not just businesses, because it was still fields and stuff, right? When they built south.
Whenever we were at South, the houses were Hawthorne, that area there. That's as far south as it went.
Yeah. So there really wasn't a whole lot. So as high school kids, what would y'all do on the weekends and at night? Like, where did y'all frequent?
I worked.
You worked?
Yeah.
Where'd you work?
Century Ford Drive-In.
Where?
Century Ford Drive-In
Really? Yeah. What did you do?
concession.
That would have been so cool.
It was.
Was it?
Yeah, Charles, give me some popcorn.
You got the hookup. What did you do, Terry?
We would cruise Jack in the Box.
That is, you are like the 4th person that's
And
told
we
me
would
that.
cruise out at, what's that little park behind South?
Party at the Moon Tower.
Yeah, Party at the Moon Tower. Yeah, we didn't know what that was. It was weird.
Like Kirby?
Kirby Creek. Kirby Creek.
Kirby
We
Creek,
cruised out
uh-huh.
at Kirby Creek. And, that's about it.
Do a lot of driving?
Yeah.
That's what y'all did. I watched, not Dazed and Confused, although but like I watched, what was the 50s version of that?
American Graffiti.
Thank you, American Graffiti. And I was like, was this actually what it was like?
Yes.
And that's exactly what.
Now,
it
not
was
so
like.
much now. I used to cruise with my sister used to take me cruising with her, of course, older. And a few years before us, you cruise Main Street. You go from A&W Root Beer down to, what's the one?
Weber's.
Yeah, Weber's. Just cruise between those two. And that was
Dairy
it.
Queen, Weber's. Yeah.
Or go over to Arlington and cruise Collins.
That's what other people said too, because there wasn't a mall or anything over there. So that's what they were doing hot rodding. Jeff Copeland has the most interesting answer, but he told me things and he was like, I don't know if the statute of limitations has run out, so I don't know if I can share everything.
Well, and I'm very careful of mine too. But there was a place out on Cooper. It was a big giant drive-in that we'd cruise over there too, and just try to cause problems with Arlington Colts, right around the corner from Arlington High School. And anyway, I can't remember the name of that place.
In Arlington, we got along with, actually, but if you want to start trouble, you go over to Irving.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Irving was big rivals.
Yeah.
So when when y'all went over to South, was the Gopher Bowl built at that point?
Yeah.
Was it pretty new though?
No, it
was
was,
built
it was built in 56.
55, 56, yeah.
And was that as cool as everybody said it was back in the day? Like as far as a place to go play high school football?
I've always thought so.
The thing about Grand Prairie, about the Gopher Bowl, Gopher Warrior Bowl.
Yeah.
Let's get it politically correct.
No, Gopher Bowl.
Yeah, Gopher Bowl. And even though I graduated from South, it'll always be the Gopher
Same.
But it was what makes the Gopher Bowl the greatest stadium to watch a game in, also makes it one of the most dangerous to play a game in. And not so much dangerous for the players as it is for the cheerleaders, coaches, chain gang, and all those, because it has no sidelines.
No, it does not.
So when you're at the Gopher Bowl, you're looking on the field. I mean, you're just looking right down on it,
Right.
which makes it the greatest stadium in the state to watch a game in. So, and if you'll notice now, we've got the big rubber mats that go all the way around the bowl now, because people, when they run out of bounds, they got no place to go.
Well, and my sisters were cheerleaders, and there was one time they did get ran into.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they got hit in the head with the helmet at one of the cheerleaders at the time. Might have been my sister. But you're right. There wasn't any place for them to go. But it was a really cool stadium, and a lot of people would come there.
Now, this may sound odd, but my brother got shot with the Gopher cannon. In the stadium.
What is the Gopher cannon?
They used to have a cannon. They didn't have it. They had it for a short period of time. The first year, either the first year they had it or second year they had it, the band was walking off the field. The cannon would sit down by the tunnel. And he was in the band. The band was walking off the field. And majorettes walked behind the cannon, and the band was walking in front of the cannon. And one of the majorettes tripped over the cord or whatever, and it shot him.
So what was in it?
It was just gunpowder.
That's dangerous.
I bet it still hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was, of course, taken to the hospital, and I didn't go to that particular game. I went to all the games, but I didn't go to that particular game.
And then how long?
Woke up the next morning, and he had a patch over his eye. And
so how long after that did the cannon exist?
After that, they moved it up top the tunnel.
And then they got rid of it.
And I think it only lasted maybe.
They were like, this might not be a great idea at a high school football game. You know, back in the 70s and the 60s, there was a lot of not safety measures taken for things.
Well, the thing about the Gopher Bowl, too, is if you ever go there, and when we redid the Gopher Bowl, got a lot of history on it, and my dad was in the class of 55, so he was there. That was a natural ravine. And so, for the longest time, they just made the Gopher Bowl out of that natural ravine. And for the longest time, it was the only true bowl in the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. And when I say true bowl, that means ground level down. Mm-hmm. It was the only true bowl in the state of Texas.
Well, wasn't there like an athletic director there that really was serious about, like, there was a couple of people that Grand Prairie High School had, the fine arts or the choir teacher or somebody, and that's why Chambers Auditorium was so awesome at the time too.
Oh yeah,
because it was state of the art. Like really, it was state of the art. But did y'all always have a football team at South from the second that it opened,
yeah.
or so?
You got to remember though, at South when Charles and I went there, we were 3A. Grand Prairie High was 4A, so we didn't even play each other. Grand Prairie High was the whole. I mean, you know, like I said, 4A. We would play Bonham and Louisville and Duncanville and Brownwood.
Now I don't remember it, but according to the information I got, the first game was in '74. So
it was a year we got
our
out.
Senior year was the first game.
That's the first year that South came up to 4A.
Was that a pretty big rivalry then?
No, I don't know.
It wasn't a big deal?
There wasn't a rivalry. There was no game when we went there, so there was no rivalry.
Our senior year was first game.
Was it? Well, I don't remember.
But still, I don't remember it. And
you don't?
Of course, I had friends at Grand Prairie High, so to me it wasn't a rivalry. So
yeah, you're like, I just get to see my friends.
You got to remember Grand Prairie High. Grand Prairie itself was a lot smaller.
That's so
You knew just about everybody. I don't care if they went to Jefferson or Adams or Jackson or Lee or wherever they might have went.
Yeah, yeah. And y'all have always lived in Grand Prairie, even after you graduated? Would you ever think about moving? Like, has that ever crossed your mind?
Oh, younger days.
Really?
66, now I'm here.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never really wanted to leave. I spent a little time up in New York.
Yeah.
Lived in Arlington for a little while, but I never really thought about leaving the area.
I remember the first time I ever went to New York City, I was like 23, and I was just convinced I was just going to be a big city girl. I was like, I'm just going to go to New York, and I'm never going to come back. And I didn't realize how much I'd love Texas until I went on that trip. And don't get me wrong, I love visiting New York. I wouldn't want to go there at the moment, but at the time it was like 2002. 2002 is right after September 11th. And I went there, and I was like, and I visited a friend. I'm like, where is all of y'all's like trees and stuff? And she goes, well, there's Central Park over there. And I'm like, yeah, but this is like all sidewalk everywhere. Yeah. And then I said, can you just walk? Can we just get in the car and go places? She's like, no, if you're going to be across town, you got to get in the cab and you got to do all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't like living here at all. Like, I just want to be able to get in my car and park in a space right in front of the building. And so it was at that moment I was like, I kind of think I love living here. But Grand Prairie is so good in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. You can get so much everywhere. I kind of left for a little bit myself, but then have come back, and now I don't know that I could probably live anywhere else.
We hope you don't. Well, if you stay here.
Yeah.
Well, I will. I will stay because I mean it's just so close to everything. It's just so easy. So, so if you could tell like students and young people now like how they could get involved and what they would do, like what advice would you give them?
I would advise them to first of all get very involved in their community, and when I say their community at that time is their school. Mm-hmm. Stay very involved in that. Get to know your classmates. You never ever realize, because who in the world would have thought that Charles Luckert and I, 50-something years later, would still be, well, over 50 anyway, would still be as close of friends as we are now. And I cherish that a lot. I mean, I really do, because the community that we were in, first of all, everybody in town knew what you were doing,
right? What
you were doing, and when you did it,
right?
Not so much maybe anymore, but so you had to be. There may not have been cell phone cameras, but there was memories.
Yeah.
So you made sure, and like I said, I cherish the friends that I made back at junior high and elementary that I still keep up with today, and to care very much about them. And so I would tell the young people, stay involved, be studious, be very. I mean, I wished I was a lot more studious than I was. If it hadn't been for some great coaches, and I mean great coaches, and in my experience as coaches, most people just say teachers, but they were by teachers too. They made all the difference in the world in my life. They knew, and I knew, that they absolutely loved me. They might have been tearing me up every now and then, but they knew, and I knew, that they cared for me. Yeah. Some of my best things as a school board member is when the Reed family asked me to do the eulogy at Coach Reed's funeral, and I did. What an honor. What an honor that was.
Yeah.
Pallbearer at Coach Murray's funeral. And I know, say funerals, but these are the guys that made me want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What about you, Charles?
I'm not sure. The main thing, I would say out of school, get involved with your community, of course. It's sad to say that I started volunteering for the first time in my life this past, during the pandemic.
Right.
And seeing the people that volunteer, the passion these people have volunteering, get involved in volunteering.
Yeah. And that was something that Cole and I talked about yesterday too, was like a local newspaper, like what you're doing. We've missed that. I mean, you guys grew up when we had a very strong local news source, and it was like that for a long time until the internet hit. And now there's starting to be more of a resurgence in it because there's so much that good that comes from a community by having a local news source. And, it kind of breaks my heart sometimes because I'm like, I know that there's a lot of people that don't know all the nonprofits that we have in the city. And we don't know all the resources that they have. And Grand Prairie is one of those places where it's so far north and south that maybe people that live on the south side don't ever come to the north side. They don't ever drive past Children First or, any of those places. And so, having that local news source is just so, so important,
Well, that's why I try to do the restaurants
Exactly.
so much, too, to let people know from the south that there's some good restaurants up north, or,
Yes.
or vice versa.
Yeah, and so if you haven't, already liked his pages, make sure you've liked all of them because one of them is restaurants. But he's pointing at me. So I like them, but it's not always as Jenna. Sometimes it says Faces of Grand Prairie, and then other times I think I've liked as Jenna, my Bancroft. So I never know which one is coming through on my page, but I need to make sure that I'm checked on all those. I know that I see stuff come through all the time.
You're not on all of them.
I'm not?
No.
Am I?
As far as I know, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So in case you don't know, Charles will check up on you to make sure that you're, but one thing that you do is every month is you kind of started doing this before the pandemic is you picked restaurants and let people vote. So you were like, what's the best Mexican food restaurant? What's the best? And then you'll go to that place on a Saturday or whenever and so people can come and meet each other that are on the page together. And then that can eat new, eat at new restaurants.
And of course, the idea of that too was to try new food, try new places.
Yeah, you and I have talked a lot about too. Grand Prairie has a lot of influences, a lot of cultural influences. So we have Asian Times Square, and
Which is where I want to go.
Yeah, and that's a big one too. Is a lot of people might not have even gone in there. I don't even know that a lot of people really know that are not in the the community that would go there normally, that there's restaurants inside of there and there's it's like a mall basically when you walk in there. But yeah, going in there and trying it out.
They've got the trees. You can buy the tree vote going on with the Chamber of Commerce right now. So you can go out and see that and walk around.
And you did go to Dia say it.
I can't say it.
Say it, Cole.
Dia de los Muertos.
Dia de los Muertos. So,
had a good time.
Do you feel like, Charles, that you've been exposed to things that you've never been exposed to before?
Yes.
By doing this
Yes.
particular?
Yes, things that I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that until last year.
Did you go
And
this last year?
Well, I went the other day, the past few weeks. But last year, after it was all over with, I saw it on my news feed. Mm-hmm. And what is this? So
Charles, I learned that on that event, what it was. I'd heard the name before, but after going through all the procession and the celebration, we went to Uptown Theater, and they played the movie Coco. And my good friend, who's a lion with me, Sonia Ortega, was like, "Come watch the movie with me." So I sat down and watched Coco. And Coco is a lesson. Of course, she's leaning over every 5 minutes, going, "Well, they do this because." And I'm learning the entire culture aspect of what Dia de los Muertos is. It's pretty cool, and that's why we are trying to continue that. Plus, let me say, we've done a few different events downtown. Like we've even did like a pub crawl, trying to get people to come downtown. A couple hundred people show up, really good. Well, when we did Dia de los Muertos, 1,000 plus showed up. So it's like, if they're coming downtown, that's what we want to do.
Yeah. And, I got to go to, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, is my first time to go to a Chinese New Year celebration. And I got to go to Asian Times Square.
I went to Asian Times Square for the August moon.
Oh, yeah.
That was really interesting, too.
It's very cool. And I'm glad that that's been something that we all get exposed to. Because growing up, there was a lot of Pioneer Days and Western Days. And I know that Miss Ruthie was a big part of that as part of our culture. But we certainly have a large demographic of a lot of different cultures that live in this town. And I think that it's really awesome that we can be exposed to a bunch of different things. I just saw a post on Dallas Morning News, the Diwali celebration, which is an Indian celebration. And I don't know that we do anything like that in Grand Prairie, but I have a feeling in Irving they do. I think that I've heard that they do Diwali, but that's a festival I always wanted to go to.
Do we still do the powwow?
The what? Oh, you mean for the Pioneer Days?
Was that what it was for? I don't remember now.
Diwali is like an Indian festival of lights, and basically it's I think that it's where it's got colors and there's a bunch of vibrancy and it's just a celebration and there's no religious anything about it.
American Indian?
No,
Okay.
Indian.
It just
Yeah,
dawned on
from
me.
India.
American Indian.
Just dawned on me we're talking about two different Indians.
Yeah, and I think that when they do it in India, they actually throw colors powder on each other, like it's like just a fun kind of thing, like really colorful, like the Dia de los Muertos would be. But man, that would be. Did I say it right?
Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah, okay.
my good friend, I went to high school, Grand Prairie High. He's class of '99. Joshua Vineyard. He started working on high towers or something, but so he traveled the world doing this job, and so he's been in India for like a year, traveling the country, and this has been multiple years, and sure enough, he posts the most whenever they celebrate Diwali.
Really?
And he's got all the different colors thrown on him, and it's just like a big festival. It's different, but certainly interesting.
Yeah.
You know, my experience with Coco is my granddaughter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She go, "Oh, Pawpaw, you got to watch. You got to watch this with me." Oh man, that was great.
Entertaining.
And
you learn from it.
Knowledgeable. Very. Yeah. It's
Whenever I was asking about that, somebody told me to watch
Coco.
Yeah.
Well, when Disney did a thing at the first of the pandemic where they were having the sing-alongs, and then after one of them came on, it was a Coco sing-along, but it was filmed at Disney from like 2 years ago, so they put it on. That is a really big deal. Like that the people that they had singing in that movie, and the fact that it was highlighted in the mainstream media, that it was something that was a big part of what was going on. So it's so neat to watch them like in that particular performance, because they were doing all the dances, but it was people actually dressed up like they were in the movie. And I was like, man, this is super cool.
One of the things I never got until I watched the movie was the painted faces. We say painted faces, but they're literally skeletons. That's what it is. It's a skeleton painted on your face, and the darkness is the non-skeleton part, right? Like it's just like black and then the white skeleton, which I had no idea. News to me. And it makes sense. That's your dead, you know?
Yeah.
It's almost, seeing it from the outside almost seems like hellish or devilish because it's bones, but we do that for Halloween all the time. So it's the same aspect.
So that's what I heard about it, that it was devilish or
sure. And anytime you talk about
satanic or whatever.
Yeah, anytime you talk about altars and death, it does appear that way. But an altar is just a remembrance. It's a place where you remember somebody. My cousin's parents had their football and their pictures and their involvement on a wall at home. The kids have long moved away. That's more or less an altar.
Right.
Just how you want to dress it up, make it look.
You know, the different cultures. One time it's explained to me this. One culture takes food to the grave and to their loved ones.
Pan dulce.
Yeah. Anyway, so this guy says, "Why do you take food to the grave?" And he goes, "They can't eat it." He goes, "Well, why do you take flowers? They can't smell them."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Or can they?
Yeah.
You know, like, and I don't know, maybe that's something too that we're talking about that a little bit. One of the things I wanted to do with this podcast at some point, and I don't know how to do it, is to translate it into Spanish, because I know we have a lot of Spanish-speaking citizens that live in our city, and you know, getting the local news out to them too. That's something that I feel like, you know, this COVID thing kind of highlighted, is how little news sources they have for getting information. I don't know. It's just something I started thinking about, and we have such a large, you know, population of people that might not be able to appreciate these podcasts, or, you know, that can't, you know, go back and read the newspaper and see the history of the town and that kind of thing. So I don't know. Just kind of something I was thinking about.
You know, I believe God puts us all in the place that we're at for a purpose, for a reason. And, you know, I am so glad that somehow, some way, that I ended up in Grand Prairie, Texas. I absolutely cherish this town. I absolutely love it. It was a wonderful place to grow up in, and I still believe to this day it's still a great place to grow up in. I have no problem. In fact, I cherish that my children went to school here, grew up in Grand Prairie, and my grandchildren are going to go to school here and will grow up in Grand Prairie. And just that legacy on and on. And, you always hear the term, it takes a village.
Yeah.
Well, Grand Prairie is the village.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I completely agree.
And I lost track of Grand Prairie for 28 years.
Really?
I worked for the newspaper. I get up every
Which
day.
newspaper?
Dallas Morning News.
Oh, really?
Get up every day, go to work. I mean, every day. 7 days a week. Go to work, come home, go to work, come home. And I didn't do anything much. I mean, of course, I'd go out to a bar or something or go out and do something. But just to that one place and back. I'm discovering Grand Prairie again.
Oh, that's so cool.
We've got it's such a large community now.
It's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
It's a good time to do it. I mean, we're more engaged now, I feel like, than we ever have been, attempting to reach out to all citizens, trying to revitalize downtown, bring people to 161 that was farmland and people hunted out there just 10 years ago. And so I'm glad you are, and it's a great time to do it. And I'm thanks for the Grand Prairie at a glance, man. I really appreciate that.
That's the main reason why I started doing it. I didn't even know who our mayor was when I started it.
You say that, and I guarantee probably 90% of the people, maybe not 90%, don't know who the mayor is.
Yeah, I agree that they don't know.
Yeah, don't know.
Well, one thing back and not very many years ago, I'd say, Jenna, let's go to dinner tonight. Okay, where in Arlington do you want to go?
Exactly.
Yeah. You didn't even, wasn't even a choice. You didn't even think, all right, we'll go to the Candlelight Inn or we'll go to wherever in Arlington. You don't do that anymore.
No.
You're finally getting out of that habit of saying, okay, Jenna, where do you want to go to dinner tonight? Okay, well, let's go to Jason's or let's go to wherever in Grand Prairie.
Right.
You're finally getting out of that mental attitude, that mental block where you say, okay, we're going someplace nice in Grand Prairie.
In Grand Prairie. That you're exactly right. And I remember even when I was in high school is when we got the Chili's, which on the south side of town. And then we got Roadhouse. And that we thought we had really made it. We got the Chili's. Like we were like, what? And then we got the, Cinemark, the movie theater. And I was like, man, Grand Prairie's growing up in the world. But then it just kind of stalled, and I'm so glad to see it. Yeah. I am. We went. Matter of fact, I'm on the a school board myself. My daughter goes to a charter school, and so they appointed me as one of the members there. The other night we were going out to dinner, and someone goes, "We need to go to the Firehouse Gastro." They didn't even live in Grand Prairie, and I was like, "Why are we going there? Like, why would you have said that?" She goes, "Oh, it's such a cool place and all that stuff." And I'm like, yeah, but it was so nice to hear that other people are coming to our town to come eat and to enjoy things. And that's really nice to see, such a difference.
The sad thing, though, is we had good steam going. We were really going good until COVID, and now I hear that some of them is backed out because of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at the firehouse one night, and a friend of mine, him and his wife, he lives way out in South Mansfield, way out there. And I'm in there, and they come walking in. "Oh, Russell, what are y'all doing?" He goes, "We just heard so much about this place, we had to come over here and see it."
That's awesome.
There you go, Jenna, your example again.
That is so awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. And it's a great place to be, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that we have elected officials that care so much about this place and that care about it and that have been invested. It's so nice because there's a lot of people on both the city council and the school board that are graduates of the high school here. I mean, I don't know if any of that aren't. Maybe there are a couple, but for the most part,
Swafford is not, and we always say he got here pretty quick. I mean,
really?
Yeah. He's the only one.
How long has he been here now? Do you know?
On council?
Well, no, just
like in Grand Prairie.
Majority of his adult life.
That's what I thought. Okay.
That's crazy. Yeah, but everybody else did. And even Mayor Jensen came here when he was 12 or 13. He wasn't born here. But he's like, as soon as I got here,
Well, I wasn't born here.
You weren't?
No.
I wasn't born here.
Well, I wasn't born in Grand Prairie, but
I was born in Midland.
You were born in Midland. Where were you born?
Dallas. But I mean, we moved to Grand Prairie when I was 5.
Oh, okay.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I qualify.
Yeah, I'd say high school. If you went to high school in Grand Prairie, you're a Grand Prairiean, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I came here when I was 2, so.
So you don't remember anything different.
No.
Midland, though, man, aren't you glad that
Yes.
you not to say Midland's bad, but kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So, well, I just want to say thank y'all for coming. Y'all have always, each of you individually have always been really supportive of me. I met Terry through when Katrina Jones was on school board, and she was doing. I still have an estate sale company that I don't do a lot of them anymore, but I was doing estate liquidations, and she worked for me, and that's how I met Terry. Is he came to come shop at one of our sales, and
Little did you know that I knew your mom and dad. Too,
well,
though.
see, okay, so you talked about that. We didn't have social media. You got a parent that graduated here.
Yeah.
You better believe you were run into somebody, and you better watch what you say because you don't know who went to school with that person or whatever. But I always appreciated you coming and doing that. And then Charles, as soon as I started, doing podcast, whatever, like you always share, and you're just always so supportive. And I'm glad that you showed up today.
Thank you.
Because it's always nice to spend time with you. So,
You do a good job.
well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Both of
You
y'all.
know, I've been a fan from day one of
I
what you
know, and I've been a fan of you too. I really have. I'm so glad. See, and I'm so glad we got to know each other because we would never have. You not being involved in it, I would have never have known you, and I'm glad that you are getting involved in. That we've known each other now. So
We'll have to meet at Firehouse, and we'll tell you some real good stories back in the day.
yeah, unfortunately, some of those things
Let's do
can't
it.
be shared and recorded.
No recordings.
You didn't have social media back then. Let's not change it now and record them down for posterity. So thanks, Cole, for letting us come in.
Firehouse is
pleasure.
like the Las Vegas of Grand Prairie. What happens at Firehouse stays
that's fair.
That is fair. All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye. Thank you,
Goodbye.
Jenna.
See
Thank
you
you,
later.
Cole.
A pleasure.
Charles, good to see you.
Good to see you.